It seems that every time the phrase artificial intelligence, AI, or the name Chat GPT comes up, it's usually in a negative connotation. Oh, yeah, use AI, use Chat GPT to do your work. You're going to become dumb and slow. Or your answers are going to be incorrect. You're going to be misled. You're racist. They're going to try and strike up bizarre friendships with you and talk you into doing destructive things. It seems that not many people think that artificial intelligence can be harnessed for good. However, let's talk to one of them right now who thinks indeed we should be making artificial intelligence our friend. As always, a delight to talk to Mitch Joel, tech advisor, co-founder of ThinkersOne, and the author of 6 Pixels of Separation and Control Alt Delete. Hello again, Mitch.
Great to hear your voice again, Trudie. Thanks for having me.
We spoke earlier in the broadcast day with Ken Connors. So you're staking out the position that artificial intelligence has a lot of potential for good for us and for our society. Do you acknowledge there's a lot of fear out there about it now, though?
Yeah, I think the fear is normal as new technologies come in that are going to evolutionarily change who we are in terms of our work, in terms of our play, in terms of how we think. But I also think it's time for us to understand that we are really only at the beginning of this, and this is a huge shift. And this idea of shutting it down, dismissing it, only playing into salacious headlines that we read is probably, or is rather, a huge mistake in a world where we could be in another world. Everyone always brandishes this as the dystopian or the mass utopian, and it could be just somewhere in the middle where we have a massive shift that creates a new type of economy, a new way for people to interact and be, a new way to be connected. And I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing, just in my own use of it, in terms of how I'm dealing with it personally, how I deal with it professionally, how I work with clients. I am seeing just new opportunities every single day for people to take new ideas and push them to the frontier.
I wonder if we were primed by science fiction to fear artificial intelligence even before it became a thing, even before it was invented, because there's a lot of dystopian science fiction that's based on the rise of independently thinking machines. And I'm thinking about the Terminator series, the rise of Skynet, and a lot of others. Even some superhero movies have to do with that. Do you think that we were pushed toward the negative, or is this just natural in us to feel leery about something new, especially tech that we may not understand?
Well, knowing your background and hobbies and interests, Trudie, I would say we also had Star Trek, which was a bountiful future of having this artificial intelligence and computers enable humans to then not worry about the things we worry about today, whether it's the type of labor we're doing or money or healthcare. And suddenly we're in a world where all of those systems are awakened and realized, and we can do the things that are of interest to us. So somebody could be a sommelier, someone else could be the captain of an Enterprise starship, and others can toil with their paintings and do whatever they want. So for every dystopian one, I think we've also had many inklings of the potential of what technology can do. And I think even if we look at the mass disruption we've had of technology, we tend to think of technology as computers, but it's not. We had the printing press, we've had many others, and at each massive cycle, we have these massive worries of what it's going to do. People, even at the printing press, there was a huge conversation back then around people not having access to reading because, that's really for these types of people and individuals and shouldn't be for everybody. And if they're reading too much, it's going to take them away from their work. And you just see these cycles all of the time. And right now, to me, this is a massive big shift, and all of these potential outcomes are there. What's going to actually happen is going to be based off of what we do as individuals, as governments, as leaders playing with these tools or working with these tools. We will have to decide, how do we get it to a place where it's making us more effective and not being used for harm? But as we've seen in any technology, there's always good and bad. Fire, good and bad. Internet, good and bad. Social media, good and bad. We can keep going down that. But I tend to be very optimistic about these tools, because when I'm working with them and I'm speaking about them and I'm working with clients on them, it seems to me that there is boundless opportunity for those willing to do this. And I'm saying this because we're entering into the new school year, and I'm seeing a lot of schools with their mandates against using ChatGPT or AI. And I'm concerned because I think ultimately we have these tools, and what we should be doing is helping both teachers and institutions and students understand them and how to get better at them and how to use them to be more effective versus shutting them down, which is going to be non-effective because then we're going to have cheating upon cheating.
What about guardrails to keep people from trying to use AI? And by people, in some cases, I mean the people in corporations, big corporations. How do we set up guardrails to keep them from using AI to manipulate us or to jerry-rig politics or, deep fakes or, on and on? How can the industry be regulated? Even some prominent thinkers in AI have expressed concerns that there may be a limited ability to regulate.
Well, I think ultimately we need to really begin to grasp what may be possible currently and what this could look like, and not just try to fit it into our current models. That's a mistake. I think we made that mistake already with the internet. So what that requires is, for sure, regulation, government stepping in, rules and regulations within organizations. I think we can't be dismissive of it, because if we're dismissive of it, that is what's going to have it run a little bit more wild. We definitely don't want to have it be banned in these organizations. And so the general sentiment is plan, be strategic, tinker. You're not trying to do the entire thing, boil the ocean. You want to be able to iterate with it. And we have to be open to being surprised by what this may or may not be able to do, its capabilities, its limitations. But ultimately, we are going to need, as we always have historically, leaders to stand up in some type of moral way and plan for a future where this doesn't impair us, but enhances. And this is the big conversation. I think it's more about that, where we hear these stories and we think, well, that's the end of humanity. And by the way, it very well could be if it goes a certain path. But ultimately, I think that these leaders know that if we end humanity, they don't even have a business model because there's nobody to purchase their products and services. So it's this weird cycle that we go through. But ultimately, where we're at right now, I think it's really important for us to try new things, to show them to others, to dismiss or take away some of the fear that we're hearing, in particular in the media. And we have to build on them. This is an opportunity for us to use technology to leapfrog, to build new industry. And I see this as being a really huge opportunity that, again, I get worried when I see the media that we're just looking at all the bad stuff. People are really scared to put their credit card on the internet. And I'm not saying it went incredibly well, but I think ultimately at the overall, it did. It did go very well, and it enabled a new type of economy.
How much time do we allow for this wearing in, for this seeing where what paths are leading where? How long will it take? Because tech moves. It seems that tech moves at lightning speed these days.
And I think it's moving much faster than usual. And my general sentiment is I'm kind of tired of that. The talk about speed. It's been going fast since I got my first computer in 1983 or 1984. What I'm more concerned about now is the direction that we're taking, both individualistically and as organizations. And then with that direction, when you plan it and you're smart about it, you build momentum. And I think that momentum supplants the worry about speed. And so when it comes to the timeline, look, we're going to be limited right now by what's called GPUs, which is just their ability to create more and more. It's the energy, the actual computer power. That's highly limited based off of what we think the capabilities are. That's going to take some time. We're already starting to see countries and regulators. You saw this in the US with NVIDIA in terms of chips being restricted to certain countries. So how that plays out. We are probably looking at a usual, when I say usual, it could change, but this 5 to 10 year cycle. And so again, the temperament I'm having is very exciting, super interesting, but we truly, really are only at the beginning of not even understanding it, but understanding how we could use it and what it can do. And so I'm always trying to temper people with, we're at that phase. We are nowhere near this being everywhere, where there's a whole bunch of productization, commercialization of this, where we have mass adoption by actual consumers and businesses. Early days still. We will see that, but it's early days.
Mitch Joel, I love talking to you because it's always thought-provoking.
I'm trying.
Thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Trudie. Have a great day.
You too. Mitch Joel, tech advisor, co-founder of ThinkersOne, and the author of 6 Pixels of Separation and CTRL ALT Delete.